as we say hello and welcome to the virtual Rockingham Speedway here for Season 11, Race 14 here of the OSRL Premier Series. Once again here from the foggy but virtual Rockingham Speedway. Hello, my name is Christian Delgado, the lead producer and commentator for tonight's race alongside Matthew Prochaski. Obviously, we just talked about it. Foggy Rockingham Speedway, Matthew. You know, obviously a really abrasive track surface we're coming here tonight here in these M4 cars. What's the outlook?
Yeah, I mean, foggy day in the sim for sure, but in terms of track conditions wise, I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys I think are going to be battling the race car. These cars are a big handful, obviously, and I think that these guys are going to have a lot to deal with these high banks and close quarters action at the Rockingham Speedway. We obviously know NASCAR's returned to Rockingham recently on the schedule for the O'Reilly cars, soon to be Cup cars in coming years, but yeah, definitely something to look forward to here in the sim as we get ready to get going here. But yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to, and definitely good to be back in the booth here.
Yeah, obviously, kind of brought up a good point here. Obviously, you know, with NASCAR putting a lot of money in here to Rockingham, you know, redoing the track surface stuff, and made the racing a little bit different here with the O'Reilly series coming here and all that stuff. But tonight here, at least here in the sim, we are going back to the old Rockingham. Obviously, we are in the Gen 4 cars. I feel like that's pretty commonplace to see, you know, the old version of the track here with the, you know, the cars with the version of the track that these cars used to go to. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to be interesting to see how tonight's race goes here from Rockingham Speedway. We'll go down the track side, take a look at some of your fastest drivers here on track. Look at
and you can see right there, little sideways already on corner exit, is like you're saying, Christian, the 3 taking the track right now. You can see him already in the wall. Going to be a lot of wall bouncing. We've seen some guys we're not used to seeing up front put up some pretty fast times, but nonetheless, obviously right now, going to be a lot of guys just getting into that outside wall trying to push the limit, I think, Christian.
And you see the 3 of Cole Forlin. Not the best race last week from Chicago, last race from Chicagoland, but up here top of the boards here in the steam machine. Obviously, Matthew talked about it, maybe got on the wall there. Obviously, practice. You can kind of do whatever you want, set the fastest lap however way you need to, but obviously if you got the speed here without wall popping, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. But we look further back, boss man himself, Jack Painter, back here in P2. Look at last race winners. Last race's winner, my apologies, Ashley Kalanick here in the 22. He's showing some speed. Cole Freilich showed some speed last week from Rockingham, and then counting out the top 5, Josh Chen, probably the fastest driver from Chicago. And fortunately, under that last caution, decided to take he decided to take, I believe, 2, and just could not get back up towards the front and kind of gave away that win.
You see that Kyle Busch Kellogg's throwback paint scheme on Josh Chin's number 93 Chevy Monte Carlos. We see some damage off of maybe the 3 car, putting down some laps. And yeah, Christian, you know, like at the end of the day, we're talking about practice, right? You know, these guys are going to be, you know, pretty much just pushing the limit here. You see, obviously, these 2 going at it right now, 73 car and the 93 car. And yeah, I mean, obviously, that's going to be something to look forward to. Is you know, how are these guys going to be racing around each other? And in terms of qualifying, I think it's going to be important to, you know, be up towards the front, because there could be a lot of chaos early on in the race, and you don't want to get damaged too early on. And for many of these guys, you know, Rockingham, definitely one of those fast-paced and pretty abrasive tracks like we mentioned, so going to be a handful.
Yeah, I agree. Qualifying is going to mean a lot here tonight, because this already starts to show that this is kind of one of those Darlington-style tracks where you're just trying to race the track and not race, less race the people around you. We're seeing everybody, you know, like the Chin there. We saw Cole Freilich. We saw the 3 spinning around here. You look back at Schmidt. Everybody's kind of just trying to find the handling here in this practice here. They had an hour to do it, and you can still see the just a little over 5 minutes left. Everybody's still trying to get a feel for how these cars are going to drive here tonight here for the ISAF 150. And yeah, obviously it's going to be interesting to see how these guys, you know, figure it out. Because and I agree with once again with you, Matthew, that qualifying is going to mean a lot, because it looks hard to just race on your own. You're less racing around others trying to make up spots here and drive to the field.
Yeah, definitely. As we take a look at William Schmidt in the ReZero anime car, very popular anime with a new season recently, actually, that came out. So very fitting to bridge that gap between two different communities. And you see right now a little bit of pack racing. 4 cars almost under a blanket here going into turn 1. And I think this is definitely a sign of things to come, maybe, with the aggression level, right, Christian? You know, these guys are gonna be going at it, and like you said, Christian, it's a very Darlington-esque track, right? You know, you gotta think about the long run, and you know, it's a grind. It really is. Just being able to see 4 wide here on corner exit, that's hardly gonna work. Man, they are getting at it right now in practice with 4 minutes to go, but yeah, it's a slow grind, a slow burn for sure, and you just want to make sure you're not using your stuff up or getting used up too early on, and have it be the short end of the stick for you.
And exactly, and you see Aiden Walker leading this field now. He has the freshest tires out of these guys in this little practice stint. And you saw, you know, that's what it took to get around these guys because it's hard to pass. And you saw Aiden Inchman is, Aiden, huge hit into the 28. But you saw he had to put those guys in a really bad spot there. Even this is just in practice, right? To get around those guys, you got less in the race, but that's probably not going to be welcome as much here. But Aiden obviously has got a lot of speed, and we know he can be a contender if he wants to. But while we get the opportunity to, we'll go ahead and go back up to our blimp status view, and we'll talk about our point standings coming into Rockingham. Obviously, the big talking point was Braden Movick. It looks like he just joined the session here within 5 minutes left, so I guess something to talk about is Braden. You know, he's coming in here with an 18-point lead over Ashley Kalanick and William Schmidt, but no practice really for this 42 machine. Probably not going to qualify the best here from Rockingham. Going to be a big talking point, but then when you look back to Ashley Kalanick and the 22, the 79 and William Schmidt, they're tied for that P2 position. Josh Chen further back, the only other driver, by the looks of it, who was even in reach of the championship with that 42, and he's only 21 points back as well. So round down a 20-point cushion between these top 4 drivers in points.
Yeah, and it's almost like we have a little bit of a, you know, round of 4, championship 4 sort of situation here. Obviously, you know, we remember that from the playoff days of the Cup Series and whatnot, but yeah, those guys tied for second. You know, they're going to be wanting to claw for every single point here, because that's going to take them pretty far, and especially at a place like Rockingham, you know, a lot can change in a very short period of time, as we just saw with that incident in practice. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to see who's going to be able to put together a clean day, right? And like you mentioned, Chris, you know, fifth on back, you're talking about Jonathan Oates, Justin Knutson, Aiden Walker, Kendall Carpenter, Chris Lilly, Harry Grindell. You know, these guys are pretty much out of contention, but nonetheless, you're going to be, you know, trying to work your way up that top 10 standings in the as far as the points are concerned, as much as you can, even if you're not going to be battling for a championship. And so for a lot of these guys, you know, it's not just about getting to that, you know, #1 spot by the end of the season. It's just going to be about maximizing, you know, points regardless of their circumstances.
No, I definitely agree. And you look at Rockingham here on the schedule. It's the penultimate race here that we're coming to from Rockingham. So for Kalanick, for Schmidt, for Chin, you know, this is a big race to capitalize on. We talked about Braden Movick. He's out on track now. We'll actually go back to trackside. Look at this 42 machine. He isn't going to have a lot of practice. He's probably not going to qualify the best. You look at Kalanick, Schmidt, and Chin right now. They're sitting 3rd, 5th, and 6th in practice right now. This is Braden. He jumps up to P17 right now. So a good, at least, first couple laps here, as we count down here, under a minute left in practice. Braden's going to have to figure it out. Obviously, we know he's a talented driver. We know that he can figure out these cars, especially these Gen 4s, pretty easily. But he's going to come in here with a big disadvantage. Obviously, couldn't make it as probably early as he wanted tonight, as he's trying to recover. Just got, you know, back from Chicagoland, where he went to the race there. As, you know, we saw, you know, NASCAR go there for the first time since 2019, and took it all in, hung out with some friends. Had to come in here last second to get into the session. And you see now, back there P17 in practice, it's not as much, you know, track time as the rest of the drivers here, but he's battling for the championship.
Yeah, and I mean, let's also not underestimate just the, you know, the amount of help that any amount of practice and time on track, time in the sim can do for you, right? We don't know what Braden's done outside of the broadcast in the session right now, but we do know that putting in that work, it definitely helps the sooner it is, relative to the race, and so it just kind of gets you into that mindset and in that zone, right, as we look forward towards qualifying. But there are some drivers that are able to just jump in the car, jump in the sim, and go fast no matter what. But those are pretty few and far between. But for the likes of Braden Movick, obviously our championship points leader, definitely going to be someone who we want to keep an eye out for as we follow along right now with the 97 car. Going to take to the track here at Rockingham. Jack Painter in that teal and red machine. A little hard to see with some of the fog we got right now, but see on the brakes, going into the corner, easing up towards the top of the track, and then get back in the throttle. And to Christian, talk a little bit about the handling of these Gen 4 cars.
They're definitely probably the most unique car on the sim. Obviously, they don't drive anything like these modern cars do. The thing I would say that you can really get into if you learn it is just sliding the rear end around. You can really get away with sliding these cars around and kind of pushing them a lot harder than any other car that we see on the schedule. See Mo, I mean a Jack right there, but really sliding the rear end out of two there. But I was listening to some of the comms here before we went live, and the top seems like a really good lane here, especially for qualifying. To just get up there, use that momentum to get up to the boards here right now. You look at Jack here, he looks like he'll sit back in E2 right now, 24.04. He jumps down now to P4 as everybody starts to jump up through the board here. Now Cole Freilich top of the board here. We look at Frank DeAngelis in the 69 Sopranos machine. You see him a little bit of a wiggle out of turn number 3 and 4, and he's going to spin it out here across the line. Not what do you want to see for the 69. 29.8, but I don't even think that lap's going to count. We'll go to some other drivers here. Chris Lilleen, the number 48. This familiar car here, the Lowe's machine. Across the board here to complete his first lap. 23.8, good enough for P5.
Yeah, with qualifying, Christian, for me, in the time that I've spent in the sim, I always wanted to go out as soon as humanly possible, right? Like I didn't want to be distracted by that number, constantly changing. The later and later I waited, and glancing down at it and being like, oh man, I'm outside the top 20, not where I want to be, getting into my own head and just kind of losing focus, right? And everyone has different procedures, right? Some people take the headphones off, qualify in silence. Some people got their music going, so there's a lot of different routines here, but it's always interesting seeing how these drivers take the track, because a lot of these guys are pretty fast on the 2-3 lap average, but think about some of the guys that are good in the long run. Some of them might not be able to put up really fast time right now, and so, but like you mentioned earlier, Christian, qualifying going to be really big in terms of the long-term implications of this race.
You see Kalani's go top 3 on the board. Their last race winner from Chicagoland, Kalanick, she stole it from Schmidt that last week there from Chicagoland. See now Braden Movick on track, and I agree, Matthew, when it comes to the qualifying, kind of the procedure, right? For me, I tend to also want to go out as early as I can if I know the track and I know that I'm confident in my ability to set a lap. But there's some also tracks where I will sit back and see, what is some other people doing here to set a good lap, and then I'll try to, I wouldn't say mimic it, but at least try to see what they're doing and try to put that into my own way. I think Braden might have got the wall there. I'm unsure. See if it'll give him a lap here going down here to the front stretch to complete his first lap. It looks like it will not. So it's going to be, one and done here. We'll see if he can improve on the second lap.
Yeah, he did get a little bit of that wall there, and obviously enough for the sim to say, nope, not going to happen, man. And I mean, there is some advantage to be gained with, maybe getting a little bit of a bounce or a touch off the wall, scrub off some speed, but be able to be where you want to be on corner exits. So obviously not what you want in qualifying. Got to be careful there, but yeah, for me, I was always, the one to be like, oh man, like at least I put up a pretty fast time, and I see other people do better than that. What can you do? But I never want to be on the outside looking in and being like, I got to crack this top 10, top 15 after waiting a while. But you bring up a good point about seeing what other people are doing, and That reminds me of the conversation that Kyle Larson had with media recently about trying to mimic what SVG was doing on the road courses. You see sideways off the corner there in turn two, but yeah, so many Cup drivers, they're always asked, what can you do to match what SVG does? Do you watch in-car cameras? Do you watch onboards? And a lot of them do, but so many of them admit that what works for him, especially with the braking and the use of the clutch, isn't really fully translatable for everyone else in the field. And so you also got to remember, everyone is unique, and even with all that information, you got to be able to do what's right for you as a driver.
No, I definitely agree. Everybody drives their car differently. Everybody wants a different, handling in their car, right? So, it just depends on what the driver wants, and it's hard to translate sometimes when you know you try to mimic what someone else does, but they just set up their car completely differently than what you want in a car, and it's just impossible to try to get it to feel right. Obviously, as we look now into our feature for tonight's race, 147 laps here from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Obviously, here for the ISAF 150 here for week 14 as we get ready to go race it here from Rockingham. Waiting on some of these drivers to get in their virtual machines here. We'll get your starting lineup here presented by HVTV, but obviously also, Matthew, a lot of things that these drivers can do in the cars to get it to tune the way they want. Obviously, fix set. There's still some limitations, but still a little bit that they can do to get the car set up.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, whether it was an NR 2003 or iRacing at times, I would always look at what can I do with the steering inputs, right? Like what can I do um with the steering ratio, and just trying to get it to the feel where I want to be in the sim. And Rockingham, right? A lot of this is a momentum based track, right? On corner exit, that wall is really going to come out at you, and you're going to carry up the track on corner exit. That's the primary line here. And so, especially when you're side by side with somebody, you're not going to be able to ease up towards that wall and track out necessarily as much. And so, one thing that you can definitely do is think about that steering wheel, and just how much do you want to be turning into and out of the corners.
That's going to be interesting to see, how they set up the corners here. You're going to run the bottom, you're going to run the top. Looks like the top was more popular, but we'll just have to see here. But getting into our starting lineup for tonight's race, Joshua Chin in the number 93, your pole sitter for tonight's race here from Rockingham. Cole Freilich going to round out row 2. Looking back to P3, last race winners of Ashley Kalonix back there in third. Cole Forlin, we talked about, had a lot of speed in practice. Shows it in qualifying. P4 run for him. Looking back, the P5, Diego Roland alongside Nicholas Budlimic. Look back here in row 4 will be Chris Lilly, Dominic Barbagallo in that number 71 machine. And rounding out the top 10, Harry Grindell, William Schmidt in that number 79.
I'll take everyone through our 11th through 20th starting positions of Jonathan Oates in that 73 car, Braden Movick, our friend, in the 42 car. Row 7, we've got Justin R. Knutson in that 16 Greg Biffle number, and Henry Kalhoff in the 63 car. Then we got Morpheus Perry in the 31, Jack Painter in the 97. We saw him in practice already. Isaac Johnson in the 33, Luke Breshnoff in the 26 car. And rounding out that row 10, Kendall Carpenter in the 20, as well as Ruby Estes in the 10.
And you see Trey Patton back here, P21 in that L1 machine alongside Aiden Walker. And everybody else further on back here did not set a valid lap time or just didn't set a qualifying lap at all. You're looking further back here, Frank DeAngelis in the 69, Levi Wolf in the 7. Back here rounding out your row 12. And rounding out tonight's field with tonight's race, Corey Rexford, Griffin Jones in the number 53 machine. We take a look here. Yep. 147 laps, Matthew. Obviously a pretty long race here from Rockingham. A lot of time to figure out where you want to put this car, how you want to set up this race for tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And a bit of a foggy day in the sim, like we mentioned in our practice and qualifying sessions, carrying over into our race. And the longer race for sure. These laps are gonna wind down for us in the booth, but in that car, you're grinding, like I mentioned. You're gonna be burning up in there, and especially in the sim, you're gonna be putting in that work. So a lot of these drivers, I think, are gonna be pretty much enduring a pretty grueling race here. A pretty physical track for sure. We compared it to Darlington already, and we know how much Darlington is a physical track. Obviously, Rockingham, one of those short tracks with high banking, not to the likes of Bristol, but definitely has its own charm. We've seen a lot of exciting finishes here. Hopefully, going to see a good race here today, but I think that these drivers will definitely be giving us a good show as we get ready to go green here.
And you kind of put it right on the dot there, Matthew. It's, you know, not only is it a pretty physical track with the car, definitely one of the more harder cars to drive here on the sim. And, you know, when you put the two together, it's definitely going to be, you know, an endurance race compared to Chicagoland. I feel like, you know, it's going to be really a driver track of who can get up towards the front, who can make stuff happen here. Take a look at this front row once again here. Waiting on everybody to get ready to go green here, waiting on the drivers meeting to get done, and we'll get ready to get set underway here. 147 laps here from Rockingham. And when we get the opportunity to, right here before we go green, we'll do our race picks tab. Matthew, who is your pick to win tonight here from Rockingham?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. We were looking at him in the sim already, and you know, as a Kyle Busch fan, I got to go with that 93 car, repping those Kellogg's colors from the old Gen 4 days. Pretty fitting being in the Gen 4s right now for the OSRL series, but yeah, it's going to be on my pick, and he's starting up pretty close to the front here, so I think he's got a good shot here starting in first position.
It's going to be a tough decision for me because I don't know. There's just so many outliers here. I'll go with the 22. You know, she won last week. She's qualifying up here in the top 3. I'm going to go with the 22 of Kalanick's here. So that's going to be our 2 race picks here. Josh Trin, your pole sitter, Ashley Kalanick's in the 22. Taking a look at our race weather before we go green. 76 degrees here. A little bit of wind, and obviously a big overcast, very foggy tonight here from Auto Club. But you'll see this pace car. Hard left turn down pit road. And we're going to get ready to go. 147 laps. Green here. And we're green. Lap, and he started to pull away there. You see Kalanick's muscling her way into that P2 spot in that 22 machine. Cole Freilich back to P3. You look at the 29 and Roland back there to P4. Everybody trying to get single file. Gosling putting it back here. Schmidt trying to hold on to the P8 position.
Yeah, our 2 picks definitely doing good on that initial start here. You can see everyone already sorting things out from first on back already, trying to get in that single file for good corner entry. You already see some of the differences in lines is with that 48 on the bottom of the track, that Lowe's Shop Vac car. We've got the Corona machine, who he sorts back behind already. Braden Lubbock, 42 machine, going down in the corner, that blue and white car. And yeah, I think, you know, a lot of these guys are going to be, you know, getting to it. You see Braden Lubbock already dropping the wheels below that yellow line there. William Schmidt, 79 car, peeking out just a little bit on the bottom of the racetrack. And so right now, yeah, just trying to feel out, you know, where your car is relative to everyone else's. You see Barbara Gull on the top of the racetrack checking out there to the end of that safer barrier. A lot of good friends of ours here at the network, but yeah, definitely some sorting out to do with a lot of these guys trying to figure out where their car lies relative to all the others around them.
Man, comes up in front of Barb there in that 71 machine. He moves up 3 spots from where we started caution. Ruby Estes upside down here in Pit Road.
Looks like we had a flip. Unbelievable. Yeah, he is beached. That car is definitely going to have to take a tow. I'm not sure there wasn't terminal damage, though, either. I mean, that could be day ending.
Once again, a foggy day tonight. It looks like he lost it out of the 4.
You see on the bottom, no contact, just loose towards the bottom, backs it up. Oh, man. Flipping.
You saw, as soon as he hit contact, kind of the rear end, the front bumper just kind of pop off like Lego pieces, and up in the air he goes. Probably day ender for that 10 machine.
I'm going to be honest. I've seen a lot of crashes in the sim, but that might be a first for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen someone hit as hard enough to get that car up in the air. Usually those sand barrels do a good job of keeping the car planted, but pretty high impacts for that 10 machine. You see him launch up in the air there, and definitely, yeah, a unique incident, especially here on the network to see that. But obviously, we talked about the handling being a big key asset tonight and trying to get this car underway. 10 loose out of turn 4 and huge in contact with that pit wall.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big hit. And let's also not underestimate, you know, the force feedback from these wrecks in the sim. You know, a lot of these guys, depending on how much they're running on their wheel and what their rig is capable of, you know, that can really jerk the wheel out of your hands, you know, lead to some discomfort. I mean, you know, you can hurt your wrist, you can hurt your fingers if you don't get them out of the spokes in time. And so definitely not something that's happened to me before. But I mean, yeah, Christian, how likely would you say is, you know, a big crash kind of, you know, putting you at risk in the sim sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it depends on what, you know, the way things are, right? Because, you know, there's sometimes where it looks like it's a big hit and you just kind of don't feel it on the wheel. But, you know, there's sometimes, like, you know, I've seen other drivers that I've raced with that, you know, even they just get hit in the back or something and it you know, yanks the wheel out of them or whatever, right? So I just think it just depends on whatever wheel you have, whatever kind of iRacing decides it wants to do, right? Because I've definitely taken a lot of big hits in the sim, and there's only been a couple of times where, you know, it's yanked the wheel out of my hands in a way that it actually, you know, affected the way, you know, I drove for the next couple of days. But obviously, you know, the 10, I wouldn't be surprised if in those types of situations, honestly, you just let go of the wheel when you know you're going to have a huge impact, just to not even to completely avoid it. You know your race is probably already done. Just don't even put yourself in a risk there. But going to be interesting to see if that 10 gets back out on track. But speaking of getting out on track, we'll see this pace car get off the track. Going to be Joshua Chen, Ashley Kalanick, your front row. 93, back to the gas, back to green.
Pretty good jump there for that 93 car. Take the lead with ease in turn 1. Yeah, Kalanick's, Christian, I think that she got a pretty good jump there on the initial start at the beginning of the race, was able to clear for second. You know, I'm not so sure that she doesn't have the best car in the field right now. You see, being able to go all the way up, follow the 93 up to the wall, following along here, pretty even on corner exit. And, you know, I think it's really just going to come down to the difference in lines, right? You know, we know that these cars can step out. You can get them, you know, with the back end stepping out from underneath you, which can help you. But obviously, you know, you don't want to burn up your stuff too early. And I'm just really curious to see how aggressive these drivers are going to be up in the front, because they know they have the speed right now.
Kalanick looks like she has the pace to keep up with the 93 right now. Just a matter of fact of how patient is she going to be to get there, because you see now Cole Freilich in the picture. You see now the 29 of Rowland. He's into the picture, the top 4 under of Blinken, and then you see further back here, as soon as if they start to race it out, there's, you know, other cars here ready to pounce the 3. You see the 79 of Schmidt. He's up to 6 now.
Yeah, how about Schmidt, man? We saw him after that initial start, was already starting to make moves after they filed out. But, you know, Schmidt was one of those guys who he was still going side by side, as we already see him now, working that bottom lane right next to Cole Forland in that 3 car. He'll cycle out right behind him. And then, obviously, that 29, Giggle Roldan, that in-and-out car, right in that top lane. Got some speed as well. But, yeah, 3rd place, I mean, also someone to look out for. Was able to close up. That's Cole Freilich in the 15 car, Ford Taurus. But, I mean, yeah, you know, Christian, when you're in that 2nd place position and you start getting held up and you know you got the speed, you know, that's got to be a pretty annoying at times. But, you know, you got to have a level head, be patient, knowing that you got a faster car.
I mean, we go back to Kalanick. She's tried to make the move a couple times. Maybe, you know, get that 93 to start looking in this mirror a little bit. To start the mirror drive. But she's right all over the back bumper of this Chen here. But right now, Josh, if anything, kind of moved up and took her lane away. You see her up the track there, as well as Ashley. And she was making a lot of speed there on the top. You're going to see her try to look to the inside here through the front stretch. She's going to get there in a 1 and 2.
Yeah, you saw the Kellogg's car just park at mid-corner almost. They'll concede for now, running that top line. Get a little bit of a run on corner exit. You see pretty stable cars for the most part in that top 5. I haven't seen anyone stepping it out too much, but like you mentioned, Christian, just taking that line away from Kalanick's. You know, you can only do it for so long before you kind of overdo things, and you know, you saw he had to pretty much just stop mid-corner to try try and avoid hitting the wall, but that allowed Kalanick to turn down on corner exit. And even with that momentum, the top side, not prevailing when you have to, relinquish some of that throttle on the top side. And we see Kalanick now running that top lane, preferred line here for the most part in the top few positions. We see a little bit of out of shape there for the 15 car. Already losing a little bit of that back end. Right now, you see a little bit of a gap between second to third. And we see the 29 car, the in-and-out machine of Diego, and the 3 car of Cole Forlan side by side. Cole Forlan looking to pounce here.
And that 3 is really rolling the top really well. He's going to make the pass there for P4. And the 3 surprised me a lot. Didn't show it. Obviously, we have not a lot of experience here with the OSRL Premier Series, but didn't show a lot of speed from Chicagoland. And it just shown out and really shocked, I think, a lot of us here from Rockingham, especially the drivers, right? I mean, I remember when he went top of the boards in practice, everybody was like, "You're not supposed to be up there," and I think it's more of a surprising thing than a disrespectful thing. It's just, this 3 has really figured out this track here from the rock and trying to hold on to it. You see him get the outside wall there just a little bit, but not enough to hold up this momentum as he's starting to run down to 15 to Freilich.
Yeah, and I love to see that, right? I love to see the guys that are not used to being up here just, showing up and showing out. Maybe they put some extra time in the sim. Maybe it's a favorite track of theirs that they just run well, or maybe it's just a car track combo, just really suiting their driving style. You see, once again, a little bit of a scrape on the outside wall. That'll happen with these cars tracking out, but you can just see the difference in momentum as he pulls to the inside of the 15 car. Gonna try to roll that bottom as much as possible. Maybe have the 15 step out, slip up a little bit as he has been on corner exit. Maybe a little touch to the outside wall right there once more. But that Megadeth 3 machine definitely on the roll.
You see him up into the wall again there, but not enough. I mean, if you can take advantage of it, right? And you see the drivers do it in real life. If you can just get up there just enough to scrape it enough to where it's not going to damage the car, but give you a little bit more speed. I mean, if that's the line, that's the line, right? And you gotta adapt if you're the other drivers. But Cole still trying to hold on to P3. You see a car going a lap down there. I think that's the 10 machine. So Ruby did get back on track there. Ruby is 16 laps down, but we saw them go a lap down here on pace. But somehow the 10, they were able to get that car fixed, so back out on track. Looks almost brand new.
Yeah, and I love that, man, because that just goes to show, what it means to be, racing in a league, being in the sim with other people, if you can just put all the circumstances aside of, running poorly, getting in a wreck, getting wrecked, that just shows that you're just out here having fun. You're having a good time as much as possible. I just love to see that. It's so easy to just be discouraged. All F4 after a big wreck like that. Take it behind the wall. Maybe run a few more laps and then pull it in. But to see that is just really encouraging.
Especially for someone like the 10 who really isn't in a spot to really race for anything anymore, even in the points, right? I mean, Ruby's just, as they said, they went up for the love of the game. Just coming back out here, maybe, like the way the car was driving at the time, and actually, went a lap down and start relatively keeping pace with the 2 race leaders here. You see Josh is actually starting to run down actually a little bit here until she got back around him.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, our 2 picks at the beginning of the race, 1 and 2 right now. And it's all about that long run, short run, right? The waxing and waning. Where does the crossover point happen? You think of the likes of, Denny Hamlin, right? Christopher Bell, those guys that we saw at Chicagoland almost pull it off on differing strategies, but nonetheless, 2 guys that are just so good at running down the competition towards the end of the races when that car just comes to life, right? And, obviously we're only 27 laps into the race, maybe about 10-ish, 15 laps through this green flag stint after the caution. But you can see right now, even with the pace of that 10 car, that 93 is getting held up just a little bit by Kalanick in the 22 machine. So you see, right now, they're getting pretty racy.
And I wonder if Josh is just sitting back there just being a little bit patient. They've got a pretty decent gap back to Cole Freilich in third. I wonder if, Josh is just going to sit back there, save a little bit of tire until it's time to go, right, for him. But you see now him all over the back end. of this 22 machine. He's found something in this 93 to get back, right? Granted, I don't know if he's using a little bit more than Ashley. You don't know if Ashley's saving tire here, or maybe she's putting herself up after taking a race lead. It's just such a cat and mouse game for these two right now. Of how hard do you push to keep the track position? How hard do you push to maybe take back the race lead for that 93 machine?
Yeah, definitely a lot of cat and mouse, and almost deja vu here as we see the 93 running that half lane, 3/4 of a lane down on Kolonix, who did the same thing to get the lead from the 93 car. We see the 93 going even further down now, just trying to get more and more cleaner on that front bumper, that front nose. The Monte Carlo, the 10 car, will now pull out of the way, down to the apron, out of the way for the lead pack here. And I just love, you know, that bumper cam that we were watching, right? You know, seeing the difference in the lines and the difference in momentum and how that takes you up and across the track at different intervals, right? And how does that basically, you know, change your approach, right, as a driver? You see side by side Braden Movick on, I think, the ReZero Anime car of Will Schmidt. That is in fact the 79. Side by side, Will Schmidt with the momentum on the top. Braden Movick gonna have to turn down a little more on exit. And right behind them, that Greg Biffle throwback to that Wii machine from back in the day, obviously running the Nut sponsor. But that car also gonna try to get in the battle here with these two.
And if you're Braden, you got to make this pass pretty quickly, because obviously, you know, Schmidt's going to have the advantage on the exit there. You see Schmidt let his teammate go, I think, right there. But right now, Schmidt's got a little bit of a run. He's going to go to the inside now. I mean, yeah, these two are, you know, technically SKS, PCR teammates here, but, you know, at least here on the Nerg, we know these guys are fast, and we know these guys are going to race each other whenever they can. Right? And unfortunately, with Schmidt, you know, racing he's actually put him in a vulnerable spot for the 16 to take advantage here. If Justin can make the run happen, I think Williams is going to try to get back on the loud pedal to try to get away here. But we talked about Schmidt. He drove up to P4. I think that tire was starting to show here for the 79 as he's falling all the way back to P8 now.
Yeah, but that aggression definitely turned the opposite way for Will Schmidt. And now I'm understanding why Justin is running the Nut car. Throwback to the Nintendo Wii on Greg Biffle's machine from back in the day. Pretty fitting with his last name, Knutson, for sure. I love when drivers put a personal twist on paint schemes like that, but obviously Will Schmidt going the wrong direction a little bit as you see his teammate Braden Movick pulling away from him. That's going to be drivers in the, let's see, Braden Movick in the 6th position right now. Looking on back right now, further.
Battle for here on back outside the top 10. Kendall Carpenter, Mo Perry, Aiden Walker. Aiden, you know, I don't know if it's like a commentary curse here, but I've watched some of these OSRL races before, and he was up inside the top 5 and up inside the top 10. And now this is 2 weeks in a row that Walker outside the top 15. We know he's such a talented driver, especially here on the sim. Just hasn't been able to figure out this car here at Chicagoland or here at Rockingham. Outside the top 16, I'm looking for the spot from underneath Mo Perry.
Yeah, and you know, so many of these guys we see race in other leagues, right? We see them race in other broadcasts at times, and you know, the skill level is definitely different from league to league, right? But some of these guys that have a lot of speed elsewhere, you know, aren't really able to translate as well. And it's always interesting to see just how that happens, right? How the differences are maybe more or less, you know, noticeable for some of these drivers. But, you know, I think like you mentioned, Christian, somewhat of a commentator's curse at times for some of these guys that we've seen race elsewhere. You know, we know they have a lot of speed. We know their talent level, but the cream really rises to the top, I think, with this car track combo and this driver lineup we have here tonight.
On board with the 39 there, trying to make something happen side by side in front of them. Eric Grindell, Kendall Carpenter. To that Home Depot number 20, going to jump up in front of the 70. Will the 70 make the crossover? Not. He tried. Didn't have the momentum to do it, so Kendall up to the P13 spot. Look further up here. Cole Freilich under pressure now. He gets passed by the 3 of Cole Freilich. He's got Diego Roland. He's got Braden Movick all all lined up behind him, ready to go.
Yeah, we're just following along with some of those drivers, talking about Braden Mubbock further back. Drove past his teammate, now working up towards the front here. In and out car. Ooh, we saw Diego almost getting the wall there, maybe getting the wall. Braden Mubbock is thinking, hey, I want to jump to your inside here. Unfortunately, we're not in the next gens where that side force is so bad when you can put air on that rear spoiler. These are the Gen 4s, man. These things drive so much different than the new car. That's why it's so fun to watch these races, because you have to take a completely different approach than, you know, an NIS race, right? So maybe 29 getting into the wall there. I think for sure getting in the wall. Braden Mubbock almost able to clear. He'll be side by side going into turn 3.
Yeah, Braden, you know, I saw, you know, he was my pick last week, and then he kind of, you know, shot himself in the foot, so that's why I picked the 22. But Braden, you know, he's got the pace. You know, if anybody knows how to drive through the field, it's going to be this 42. Started back in P12, up now 7 spots. Going to be up 8 spots potentially, and get around this 29.
Yeah, you heard it right there once again. The 29 just barely scraping that outside wall. We talked about it, I think, you know, there's a little bit of an advantage to be gained, you know, just barely touching that wall, scraping it, you know, being able to find some speed without scrubbing off too much momentum. But right now, Braden Mubbock able to capitalize here, maybe thinking of more as the 3 gets into the outside wall. That car's handling is gone.
Yeah, and we saw it, you know, the 3 actually get around the 15 of Cole Freilich. Cole made the pass back here for P3, and now you see, you know, Forlin. I think, you know, running the wall does have, you know, its benefits, but it does have its downsides there. And I think you're starting to see it now here on lap 45. The front tires are killed on that 3. You're starting to continue to push, and you're starting, even these 3 in front of them starting to pull away here. Now it's going to be Cole Freilich trying to hold on to P3. Braden Mubbock on the attack.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating in the position of that 3 car, right? You know, you're fading more and more. You're getting frustrated. Guys are in your inside, maybe using your up a little bit since your momentum and your speed isn't matching theirs coming from behind. And, you know, 3rd place, you know, you want to be able to run up towards the front with the leaders, but, you know, you just get a little frustrated inside of that car. You know, you're demanding more and more from it, and you're getting less and less out of it. And it's just a snowballing effect that can really be detrimental and can maybe put you out of a race if you make a big mistake, you know, get loose on corner exit. Can't remember how many times I've done that in a street stock race, just trying to do too much, right? And, you know, for that 3 car, you know, maybe you make a good adjustment, get some tires, come down pit road early, try and just, you know, offset that difference that you're seeing from the cars in front.
Yeah, and I think you just have to try something different, right? You see everybody up on the wall. I mean, obviously, we've seen that this is kind of the way you need to do, is kind of just manage the momentum, but I wouldn't mind seeing someone try something different, try to run the bottom, try to do something different. You saw Braden check up for the 15.
Wow.
On the back of him, and that kind of checked up the 29. Braden's starting to, you see the handling starting to go. Here comes Braden to the bottom.
Yeah, that handling on everybody here in this group is really, really fading. Wow, what a slide up the track. He's going to try to park it in front of the 15. Thinks better of it. The 15 car now back to the inside. As long as they stay side by side, that 29 car going to have a chance here as well. 29 is going to go all the way up to the top of the racetrack at the wall. Try to get some good momentum here. See, we'll follow both of these guys going into turn 3.
Slide drop city for the 42 and the 15. It was, when you saw Braden that last lap, put a slider on the 15, a crossover. Then Cole put a slide job on Braden, but it looks like Braden gets the last lap here. He gets P3. Now he has to try to run down. He's got about almost a 4.5 second gap back up to Josh Chen and Ashley Kalanick's in front too. So, I mean, he's got the cleaner now. He's got no one to battle with. And we're going to go run these guys back down before we start green flag pit stops.
You know, Christian, you know, obviously we're up here in the booth, but, you know, both of us have been to the sim. Obviously, you more than I have. You know, for the driver mentality, right? Are you more of the driver to, you know, let the guys come to you knowing that you have, you know, the long run pace? Or are you one of the guys where, you know, you run up on someone's bumper mid-corner and you're like, you know, I got to go now. I cannot be using my stuff up trying to get around this guy. You know, maybe be put in a bad spot just trying to get around him or get past in the process, right? You know, like what's the kind of mentality you want to have in a race like this?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to, you know, try to save myself and try to drive through the field kind of like how Braden has, but no, I think it just depends on situation to situation. If you really feel like you're getting held up, even if you are sailing, right? Sometimes you just gotta push just a little bit more to get around that driver. But especially here at Rockingham, if you feel like you're getting held up, I feel like sometimes it makes you burn your stuff even more, right? Getting held up and having to adjust to, whoever's in front of you's line, right? Sometimes you do just have to, try to make the fast work, try to get around them as quickly as you can, and then you go back to, running your own race and, tire conservation, fuel saving, whatever it needs to be. But I generally try to save my equipment and drive through the field.
Yeah, oh, wow. We see the 29 get in the wall there. Once again, wow, almost lose it on the front straightaway here. And, yeah, you bring up a really good point, Christian. You want to... You just want to think about, is it worth it, right? What's the opportunity cost of pushing the issue right now, trying to get around someone, maybe slide the rears on exit, that's going to be really bad. Or, yeah, maybe you wait longer and you pass them and you don't lose that grip in the rear tires. You see right now the 73 car at Miller Lite scheme side by side with the Greg Biffle 16 machine. That's going to be Justin Knutson, as well as that Miller Lite car. And, yeah, I mean, right... Yeah, right now Jonathan Oates looking to make a move. Right now he clears on exit. We're following along with him in practice. He was able to dice it up with some drivers.
We saw him get taken full wide in practice, and I think for the 73, I don't think he qualified really where he wanted to. Up now 3 spots more. He qualified back there in 11th, but Oates has always had, I would say, pretty good long run speed here. Throughout the season here. Trying to drive through the field, and you start to see the polar opposite now. Forlin, remember, he was up inside the top 3, outside the top 5 now, back here in 6th, or in 7th now. The 73 trying to make the move. Forward P7.
Yeah, and obviously we got to give our flowers to Cole Forlin for being able to put up a fight up front while he did. Right now the 73 car moving on past him, but I mean, yeah, you think about, getting buried back in the field from bad qualifying, right? It's just really unfortunate as a driver when you're not able to showcase your full ability, your full skill set, because you're buried behind people and you're getting held up, getting used up at times maybe, right? There's just not that many opportunities to go out there and, really put on a show for everyone if you know you're capable of it, right? So many of these drivers have a lot of speed, but it won't really come to the... it won't really come to fruition unless they're in, a good starting spot. And so, you're going to spend your stuff just getting up to the front to be in contention, let alone actually, racing for the lead or racing with the front runners in the top 5, for example. But up until now, Kalonix and Chin, 1 and 2, Braden Movick able to race through the field, as we mentioned, in that 3rd place position. Not much change up towards the front, but Braden Movick, our points leader, and one of those guys that you mentioned, Chris, did not practice pretty much at all. Didn't get too good of a qualifying as a result, but nonetheless, one of those guys that, we just know is going to have speed no matter what.
We talked about Aiden Walker earlier. There's not having speed, but I think now we're starting to see some of the drivers who use up their stuff a little bit. Remember, we had that caution on lap 7. I think maybe some of those drivers were like, oh, it's going to be one of these races, right? And maybe pushed a little bit too much, expecting the caution to come out. But we've gone great since that caution through the Estes on lap 7. And I'm starting to think that maybe some of these drivers use their stuff up a little bit too much. You see Aiden Walker underneath, Barbagallo here in the 71. And they try to make that password for P11, for P12, my apologies. You see someone like William Schmidt, another SKS teammate, to 39, he's fell back outside the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. And, you bring up a good point, Christian, being a little too overzealous on the restarts, right? Trying to be aggressive, thinking that it might be a caution fest. And you just never know, right? But it's a gamble, for those guys that maybe did push the issue, maybe they would have been in a better spot had the caution come out a few more times on that short run speed. You see some side-by-side here with the 79. And we got Aiden Walker on the top. But right now, yeah, that 39 car making a charge towards the front. But, and even considering that caution with the 10 car, single car spin, wasn't even due to aggression levels or anything with contact with any other drivers. So, maybe a sign of things to come, knock on wood, obviously. But so far, got to commend these drivers for keeping it clean and having a good long run here.
He gets Colonics are on the 48 now as well, so he's starting to drive up to the field as well. Remember, I mean, starting to see, you know, kind of the comers and goers now here on lap 65. We have to be approaching, you know, green flag pit stop territory soon. But we're starting to see some of the guys who did a way better job taking tires. You see Jonathan Oates up a couple spots. You see Aiden Walker, we were looking at him further back. He's giving himself up inside the top 11. He'll probably get Moylan here pretty quickly. We saw the Hindley go way here, so he does get around number 3 machine. So, you know, we're starting to see some of the guys who did a better job starting to drive up through the field. You know, and up inside the top 10. You look at Jonathan Oates, he's up in the top 6, running down Cole Freilich. We even look at someone like Braden Lovick, he's actually kind of ran down the race leader a little bit here. Down to 5 seconds. Remember when he got out, I believe it was about 6 or 7 seconds behind the leaders, got it down to 5. And then, but look at Josh, he's kind of in no man's lane by himself, and then Colonics just pulled away from the rest of the field here. 2.5 seconds up to that 93 machine.
Yeah, we thought maybe the 93 had something for Colonics, just like Colonics did to the 93 towards the beginning of the race. But our race winner from Chicagoland, pretty much just showing out front here. Got some lap traffic to navigate around as they have the entirety of the race so far, but doing pretty good. And yeah, talking about green flag pit stops, right? You know, this pit lane at Rockingham, Christian, talk a little bit about, you know, procedures for getting down pit road, making sure you get on and off clean.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest pit road to get down to. Obviously with the bumps, just the natural bumps from the track, the track's already so abrasive, especially now with, you know, 70 laps on these tires. Outside of the couple of people who have to come down pit road, we have had some who've done a little bit of a different pit strategy, like Frank DeAngelis came down. Earlier we see Kendall Carpenter, they came down. Looks like basically the top 18th on back has at least came down pit road either for an incident or did come down and take tires in their first pit stop. But yeah, you have to be really cautious. And for me, I'm going to aid on the side of caution versus trying to be aggressive down pit road. Potentially, you know, doing what the 10 did, or maybe speeding down pit road, and that could, especially if you're in the top 3, top 5, that's going to be a race ender.
Yeah, and talking about, you know, erring on the side of caution, right? I'm thinking, you know, pitting sooner rather than later. You know, I don't want to be out on old tires with guys trying to get around me, or trying to get their tires up to temp. You know, there's just way too much room for error, way too much room for sliding the tires, getting out of shape, and losing more and more lap time. So, you know, unless you're someone like Colonics where you feel comfortable out front, you know, maybe the likes of the 93 car in second place, where you're like, you know what, I can reason with staying out longer. You know, I think you got to take the under here. I think you got to try to pit early and just make sure you're gonna hit your number. But you know, just don't want to leave any problems for, you know, a lot of these other drivers that are going to be hitting the pit cycle for green flag pit stops under a few laps to go here. But yeah, it's just less to worry about, in my opinion.
And speaking of pit stops, here comes Jen down pit road. He's even the first of our pro runners down pit side here on lap 73. So, I mean, first taker. And I think for the most part, I think some of these drivers just probably wanted to cut it in half. They're right in that territory to do it right now.
Yeah, we're pretty much halfway through right now as we see the 93 car pull to that #1 pit stall on pit lane. I think this is the perfect move, right? You know, we know that Colonics has a ton of speed. So the 93 car is thinking, hey, you know, I wasn't able to get anything out of this green flag run on track. You know, let me try to switch it up, pit before them, see if I can make up the deficit otherwise. Obviously, the tire fall off will be in the favor of Colonics once they pit. But the track position, I think, is going to be even bigger. But we see Colonics right now taking a pit lane, so that's going to be at least a lap difference here. We'll see what the outlap of the 93 car will look like.
It's gonna be interesting to see, you know, he pits a lap later. That gives that 93 one lap more, like better, fresher tires here. But remember, he was, and you see Colonics actually missed box a little bit. That's gonna cost her probably a good half a second there. Remember, she had about a 2.5 second gap back to the leader. You see Braden Lovett. Here comes a lot of drivers down pit road. We'll actually pull up here. pit road toggle here on the right side of your screen to show you everybody on track, and here comes everybody. Here with halfway.
Yeah, everyone's going to be taking those 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco racing fuel here at the Rockingham Speedway. And, you know, it's so hard to tell where these guys are going to cycle out, as we see that Rayovac machine of Nicholas Budimilik, the 28 car, and the outside of him, Luke Breitschoff in that Travis Pastrana car from back in the day. You see the 29 car of Diego. He's going to be taking that in-and-out machine down pit lane. Get some 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco racing fuel. And yeah, like I was saying, you know, it's so hard to tell where the cycle is going to spit these guys out after everyone gets up to speed again. But, you know, the biggest ways to make up your deficit, or, you know, lose your deficit over other drivers is, you know, right there, getting on pit lane and then getting off pit lane. You know, how much are you going to push it? How hard are you going to slam on those brakes without sliding the tires, getting out of shape? And, you know, the downshifts, right? You got to do a lot of engine braking as well. And so there's so many ways that you can, you know, be smart about the pit cycle. But the more you push it, the higher the risk is. So it's a very much a high risk, high reward kind of situation.
No, I definitely agree. It's just, when do you want to come down? And, you know, for a lot of these guys, it's like, when can you come down, right? It looks like the pit cycle is complete outside of the 28. He still needs to come down. But there's a couple of drivers who pitted way earlier, right? It looks like there's 2 drivers who need to come down, so that's the 7. But you look at Kendall Carpenter, he'll actually, like Rocky Racely for now, he came down pit road quite a bit earlier than the rest of the field here, 29 laps ago. So Kendall will actually lead once the, you know, the front 2 come down. We'll have about a 7-second advantage back to Kalanick's in the 22. So Kendall will probably get some laps led when and if the 28 and the 7 come down pit road here. But for now, Nicholas still out on track, leading some laps.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about that 20 car we just saw with Kendall. You know, 29 laps is a lot at Rockingham, right? But then you think about, you know, where their pace is at. You know, if they feel confident in that speed, I'm totally confident in their ability to, you know, put up a fight here. Obviously, they're going to have to, you know, work with those older tires eventually, and that's going to catch up to them. But I definitely think in the position of Kendall, where you didn't qualify that high, and weren't racing up to the front on pure speed, you know, why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him trying to do something a little bit different here. I mean, I'm interested to see how long he can go. How much fuel he's got in that tank, because I presume he's probably just going to run it dry and then pit. The issue is, you know, for him, he's got 5th on back, dropped the lap down. Now you're going to see, Braden Lubbock on the fresher tires.
Wow.
He's going to do a 2-for-1 right there. Unlap himself and pass Frank DeAngelis, right, in one big move. But, you know, if we get a ill-advised caution here, I think now that's going to be the top 6 or 7. Crap the lap down.
Yeah, you're right, Christian. And that's just the thing is, you know, with these shorter tracks, you know, there's so much room for error, especially on the pit cycles, getting back up to speed and slowing the car down, getting on pit lane. Obviously, we're past that now, but, you know, an ill-advised caution is definitely going to be pretty bad for many of these guys. We see our race leader now down pit lane finally.
Battling in the race lead over to Kendall Carpenter. He's getting ran down pretty quickly. Only a 2.5-second gap back to Ashley Kalanick. And you see Kendall in a heap of traffic here. You see the 63 at Cowhop. You see the 3 of Portland. You see Aiden Walker there trying to make up some time here. Remember, the fresher tires for everybody around him. He's trying to manage the gap, try to let the faster guys go in the same spot. Still trying to keep the pace up here in this 20 machine.
Yeah, and we look at Josh Chin, was able to cut into some of that lead that Kalanick's had through that pit cycle, but was not able to come away with the lead itself. So once everyone cycles out here, it will likely be pretty sizable gap from first to second. Obviously, a lot of racing left to go. We are past the halfway point now. But Colonics right now are just trying to navigate traffic, right? And, you know, this is really where, the cream rises to the top, as we mentioned earlier, right? Running your race, not getting too over-ambitious with trying to pass lap cars. We see Kendall on the bottom of the racetrack there. Going to pretty much have to concede here to the faster car of Colonics for the most part, but you see them now still side by side. I don't imagine they'll put up much of a fight. You see Kendall right back there in the second place. But yeah, I mean, right now I'm thinking that it's going to be pretty much a Colonics show for the remainder of the race if things go the way they have the entirety up to now.
She's done a good job managing through the lap traffic, getting through, passing in opportune times, right? I think that's the best part, is setting up your car to pass in opportune time. Even if that means like lifting a little bit earlier on entry, set yourself up for exit to pass, you know, maybe 1-2 cars down the straight with the better run off the corner. Did a really good job of doing that. Over 50 to go. It's gonna be if does absolutely make a mistake in it, and if out of the he does, Josh has something in the back to make something happen. He hasn't even gotten the Carpenter yet. Yeah, less the Colonics. He's starting to lose quite a bit of time with about 2 seconds back.
Yeah, and like you mentioned a few times, Christian, it's all about the timing of the passing, and so a lot of that is just luck, right? Like, where do you spit out after the pit cycle, and where is everyone else? Where do you catch the drivers that you're trying to pass? Is it corner entry? Is it mid-corner, corner exit on a straightaway? And so all that factors into that deficit that we end up seeing towards the end of these races, where first and second are separated by X amount of time, but, you know, so much went into that, right? So much went into how that lead was generated, aside from the pure speed of the drivers so far, but definitely a lot to consider.
Definitely is. You see Josh finally getting out of the Carpenter. Carpenter's trying to hold on here. You see the 28 with the precious tires.
Rewind.
With the fast work, you see William Schmidt. He's actually got the lap down here. He's actually 15. Second car lap down right now. Here's that 79. Jack Painter up the road. First car lap down. Got lap 5. Ashley, not that long ago. Barbagallo will go 1 lap down here out of 2. Now, it just shows the raw pace out of this 22. We saw cars go laps down during the pit cycle now, but this is the 22 naturally getting up and lapping people, right? I mean, one goes lap down. Back here in 13, right? So, over the sides of 22. He was up inside the top 3 at one point. Fortunately, the race is just not gone in his favor there, back there in 12.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you know, you got to give him credit for being up front while he was, and that's just the thing is, you know, this track rewards the long run. It really does, and we compared it to Darlington earlier in the broadcast, but it really is a slow grind, as we see Barbagallo almost catch the wall there. Now follow along with the 15 car of Cole Freilich, as well as the 29 car, the in and out colors right behind him. That's Diego Roldan. And we see coming off the pit lane, I think, is Luke Brightshop.
I believe that was. And Cole, you know, he's had a very quiet night. Been up inside the top 5, top 6 all night long. Someone I want to look at as well is the 73 but he is quietly climbing his way up inside the, you know, the top 5 and kind of the generic, you know, pit cycle here. Not the same pit cycle as the rest of the field here. But Kendall Carpenter's the outlier now as he sits here in P3, but you got to commend this 20. Doing something different, trying to put himself in a good spot to get that track position, right? And he sits at P3, you know, Braden's running him down. And then you look at Oates back here, you know, he's 6 seconds behind, you know, that battle for P4. But, you know, he's slowly but surely grinding his way up inside, you know, a top 5 spot here after, you know, starting outside the top 10. Look at Braden. actually got around Kendall here. Kendall now back to P4. So now it's kind of the big three once again up inside the top three. It's Kalonix, it's Chin, and it's Muppet. The top three here with 47 to go. As we see when you continue to fade back. We did lose Matthew up here in the third real quick. We'll have to restart our Discord one more time. Like I said, the big three leading the field tonight. You know, Braden back here in P3, Josh Chin in P2, Kalonix trying to claw her way into a championship fight here with that 42 machine. A little bit of pressure from the 29. I'm rolling here in this 29 machine. And once again, Freilich, one of those drivers I feel like who has pretty good short run speed. But then the 29, I feel like it's been, you know, the other side of the fence there. He's been a little bit better on the long run.
Yeah, obviously, we know that long run is just the name of the game here, right? And I think that will, you know, truly reward, you know, a deserving winner here, because I mean, these cars are such a handful. You see that XI machine up front. I think that's the 15 car. You see once again into the wall for the 29 machine. You know, it's so easy to lose control of these cars, and especially as the run goes on, you know, it's an exponential curve with the inability to have a good handle of this car, and it's just really cool to be able to see so many of these drivers you know, be able to endure right now.
And that's what you kind of have to do. Remember, you look at this, I mean, you know now that these drivers set up the race to go halfway. They have to go 42 more laps here, right? And I mean, we've seen, you know, even now we start to see the 15 and the 9 and already starting to go away. They have to go 40 more laps to end the race here. So, you know, they have to kind of have a mindset of you have to keep the car going. You got to keep the car on track. You can't really afford to do what really the 15 is doing and sliding out to the rim. Because the more you do it, the more tire wear has to come into play. The more the handling actually will start to lose throughout the run.
Yeah, exactly. And that just means that mistakes are accentuated even more, right? If you do make a mistake, that will hurt, and you will notice a difference in your car. And that just goes to show, you know, like the closer and closer you run, you know, to the line of being in or out of control, you know, the more and more likely it is that the mistake that you do make is going to be pretty costly. So, you know, just so many things that go through your mind. And right now, as we look at that Miller Lite car, who's been able to, like we already mentioned, you know, just chug away, you know, have a pretty good night. That's Jonathan Oates in that Ford Taurus car. You know, it's equally as commendable for many of these guys who have just put together a well-rounded race, in addition to obviously our leaders that we've been following the majority of the day.
And I'm looking at Jonathan Oates as well now. He's actually running the fastest laps on track there, on par with the leader of Kalonix. The issue is he's about 6 seconds behind the 42. Obviously, you know, chucking off and running, you know, a 10th a lap here. You look at it, a 10th a lap, that's about 3. You know, if he's running about 10th of a lap, he's going to only get about 3.5 seconds back here with 37 to go. So he's got a fast car. I just think he needs a little bit of help to get him inside that top 3 position tonight.
Yeah, definitely doable. And that's just that's the great thing about, you know, these runs as the day goes on, because you just get to see you know, who is able to really get a good handle of this track in this car, and yeah, the longer the run goes on, the more and more difficult it becomes to run consistent lap times and competitive lap times, right? Um, because that's just really what's gonna elevate you throughout the field if you're able to do so. And for the 73 car, you know, didn't have the qualifying, didn't have the um, you know, the flat out race pace earlier on to go and compete, but right now doing a good job to maybe snag that podium spot for sure.
You know, I'll be interested to see how the lap times compare here throughout the run here. Maybe Johnson's just a little bit hard now to try to catch up, and maybe the lap times start to fade out of the 73, but now it looks like everybody, for the most part, running by themselves, just trying to figure something out. We saw the 29, he finally got around the 15 of Freilich. They're rolling up inside the top 5. Pull Freilich back down to P6. Justin in the 16. Trying to run down this 15. This is by far your closest battle on track right now. These three are kind of under the blanket.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, there's, you know, these drivers that have been way closer than the leaders have been. So these guys are probably the ones that have the you know, the least amount of job security, so to speak, with their running positions as the run goes on here. And you know, you're close enough where you can see mistakes when they happen, and you can pretty much instigate them too, as you see the Knudsen machine, the 16 car, just driving it down in there, working his way towards that rear bumper. This is the time in the race where, you know, it's crunch time, right? You're gonna try to take advantage of every single position you can get, and you're gonna try to get in their head, right? And you gotta just be diligent. If you're the driver in front of this car, you know, just kind of run your line, run your lap the way that you know how to run it, and not be pushed into a mistake, right? That's the last thing you want to do is give into that that intimidation factor, if you will.
I agree. You just gotta kind of have to run your own race right now. 31 to go. Going to 30. Still quite a bit of laps here, especially here from the rock, where we talked about it time and time again. The abrasiveness of the track really makes it hard to want to push here with so many laps left to go here. To look back at here, Kendall, I guess, could not make it on fuel. He cannot pit again. So he's going to have by far the fresher tires. He put it 9 laps ago. He's 1 lap down back at 17th, but he will be probably by far the fastest car on track right now. Everybody else are running around, say, 24, like high 24s, low 25s. He's running in the 23s right now. So,
wow.
He should be
we saw the 20 car earlier on after everyone cycled out. It was about 39-40 laps that they had been out on track since they had pitted, so they were obviously on a completely different strategy than everyone else from the start. But to be able to see them run out of gas here, you know, you wonder if that was something that they had considered, right? I mean, they were pitting well before the halfway point. I'm sure that was something that crossed their mind for sure. I do wonder if anyone else who pit early is going to have any fuel issues as well, or if they're going to be able to make it to the end here. Definitely a little bit to consider here. Another thing I want to mention is Chin in that second place spot. He is under 2 seconds now. Pretty much 1.5 second difference from first to second. You see right now 2 lap cars separating the first and second place runners. And I think, you know, it's not impossible for that 93 car to work their way up towards the front right now. And obviously they have 1 lap older tires than the 22 running in first, so it's not going to be easy, and there's not any big implications with fresh rubber, or fresher rubber rather, that's on the 22. But you see, oh wow, right there, the big time scrape of the wall, going to take off a lot of speed and momentum. But you know, still 2 lap cars to navigate if they are able to get through it. So I just want to keep an eye on that for sure throughout the rest of the race.
Now you see him kind of stuck. You see these 2 lap cars side by side in front of him, and he's like, "Come on, guys! You guys got to figure something out here. You guys are holding me up." See him side by side with the 48. Chris Kirby. I think Chris was the one who just back down and said, hey, I'm not going to be that guy. I'll back off even though this is for position. You know, let the guy who has the only shot to go race down your race winner for the most part. Let him go. And then I'll try to get back to Painter in a little bit. Or maybe just try to follow that 93 up to Painter and try to make that battle work once he gets back up there. But I want to talk about back here. I'm going to talk about Kendall. He's still in the low 20. He's gone down now to the low 24s. So I was going to ask him maybe he had enough time to maybe unlap himself a decent right now. The last time's already gone far enough back now that, you know, he's running, you know, comparatively, you know, only a couple tenths faster than even some guys with, you know, twice as many laps on their tires. So I think Kendall, either he's hard saving right now to try to figure something out here. I don't even think he's going to get back onto the lead lap with this strategy, but had to try to do something different. You got to commend him on that.
Yeah, I love the mentality, right? I love doing something different and being the leader of that differing strategy, right? Obviously, it didn't work out the way they wanted it to, but for the time being, you know, it was something that, you know, could have had a promising finish to its name, but, you know, that's just what you got to do is you see him try to navigate around Barbagallo there, one of our friends at the network, and, you know, I must say, completely off topic, but I don't think I've ever seen a Home Depot sponsor on a Ford before. But that is definitely an interesting choice of scheme. And, you know, another fun thing I always like to point out is just all the different paint schemes here in the field. There's a lot of personality that comes out here, and just want to commend all the drivers for, you know, putting the time and effort into finding a scheme on trading paints or, you know, making a scheme personally. And so for many of these guys, you know, it's a really fun outlet to express themselves, to be able to come out here to a league that's being broadcasted and, you know, show their colors literally and figuratively. So you see right now the 20 car of Kendall working the inside of the 73 of John Oates. John Oates, one of those guys that, you know, Christian mentioned already, you know, having a really good day, just, you know, chugging away, doing their best that they can, getting the chips that have been given to them, cards that have been laid out in front of them. And so 73 car just trying to, you know, put a cap on the day pretty much as we are under 20 to go now at Rockingham.
So you open around the 63 at Cal Hoff back there in P18, 2 laps down. Not the race that I think he wanted. Obviously, we've seen him have some success here on the network. Some other series, but obviously this is Gen 4. This is the whole new kind of car that, you know, and there's a reason why you start to see some of these drivers too. We haven't seen on the network before be that successful, be very successful here in the Gen 4 because it just drives so much different than any other car on the surface, really, from my point of view at least. You know, it takes so much, takes a different kind of finesse to get that time out of these Gen 4 machines. That's why you're seeing, you know, people like Ashley, Josh, and Braden, the consistent kind of top tier guys when they come, you know, here on the network here in these Gen 4s week in and week out. You know, you see Braden, you know, and no man's land right now. He's got a 3 second gap behind, and almost a 5 second gap up to Josh Chen, but Josh, given everything he's got here with coming to 15 to go, trying to run down to 22.
Yeah, and that gap is actually plateauing, or rather going down a little bit as we see trying to get around Aiden Walker in the 39 car. Actually giving the 22 a bit of a fight here. 22 is going to have to go to the inside as we saw the 93 car do to that 48 machine earlier on, that lap car. This will drag them further back towards the Kellogg's machine, Kyle Busch tribute car. And, you know, right now, you know, regardless of who wins here, Christian, you know, obviously we had some pretty good picks at the beginning of the broadcast for sure. So this is really cool to see both of these drivers have just completely different approaches to, you know, the progression of this race as a whole. As we see the momentum to the 22 car taking it to the bottom of the track. Aiden Walker likely concedes that position. They will. And so now the race is on.
Walker trying to get back to the inside.
Oh, man.
There. Can't make it work there. See the back end step out there. Walker was trying to stay on the lead lap. And also, you have to think, Walker's teammates with Braden. Braden probably wants to see those two go up there and try to fight for the lead and then maybe give him a shot. But actually able to, you know, put the slider on the 39, get clear, try to set sail away again. As you see now, we talked about him. The 39 holding up. The 22 allowed Josh to get underneath the second and a half. This is the closest he's been since, you know, they've exited pit road. Does Josh have anything left here with 12 to go?
Yeah, it's definitely not out of the question. And then you think about, you know, what did passing that 39 car cost the 22, right? What did the tire wear implication have for that pass that was made? And so obviously the 39 of Aiden Walker, you know, he has full you know, he has the right to race for that lead lap position. And so obviously he won't race as hard for that second place car that's trying to get around him. But you know, definitely just trying to see if there's anything left in that car in second place to try and make a charge to the front here with almost 10 to go.
With 10 to go here, Kalanick's pulled away just a little bit more when she got that clean air back on the 22. To get the 10 to go. Across the stripe there. Not really a lot of a gain there for the 93. And further back, you see Braden P3. And a solid P3 and a good points finish for Braden. Considering the circumstances, no practice, no nothing, right? Showed up, showed out. By far your biggest favorite tonight. It's actually going to be Walker. Up 13 spots. Remember, he didn't set a qualifying lap. You get a top 10 finish if you can hold on here for 9 more laps.
Yeah, definitely. And then you think about the championship, right? You know, Braden Movick still staying in touch there with the top 4 contenders. So not going to be too much of a change after this race, I don't think. Only one that I can think of that isn't far up is Schmidt in that 79 car. But maybe a little bit of shuffling for second, third, or fourth, but I'm not so sure that Braden Movick has too much to worry about. But, you know, all in all, if this goes the way that it is right now, Braden Movick going to come out of here with a pretty solid point standings, in my opinion.
Now, I'm going to be interested to see the way the points shake out because, I mean, yeah, Braden in third, but the person in second is going to win this race most likely. Knock on wood. Hopefully no commentators curse here with 7 to go. I'd hope not. I mean, she's my pick to win, but she's going to win tonight's race, and I'm not sure if the winner gets more points, like than second and third. I don't know how much the point variance, but still, Braden wants to be, you know, in touch here, and you know, Ashley's going to most likely continue to pull away. She's pulled away, you know, even more from the 93, even after having the battle with the Walker machine. The closest battle right now. Jack Painter, Aiden Walker battling it out for P9.
Yeah, it's going to be really tight for just on the cusp of the top 10 position here. 97 able to roll that inside. You're following along with them. First car out in qualifying that we were following with in the broadcast. So 97 car trying to make the most out of this final 5 laps here.
It's going to be a hard pass for Jack to make here. At bottom, we just see the top is so much better. The Kendall. Oh, man. This is also a battle here. So Kendall, remember, we talked about has the freshest tires in the field. He's caught up to these two. He's got, you know, 30 lap fresher tires than these two guys. You can tell. I mean, he definitely has a lot more speed here. Got to be patient, though, with 4 to go.
Wow, yeah, they ran that middle lane. Now going to take it 3 here with 4 to go at Rockingham. Wow, all the way underneath the yellow line, 2 wheels. Clears both of those cars.
2 for 1, put the 20. He's going to jump up inside the P9. He goes from 11th to 9th in 1 lap.
Wow.
Carpenter, the fresher tires, what a move there.
So the strategy does pay off, in fact, for a top 10 for Kendall.
If there was more time, I think he could definitely get up there and maybe get a top 5, but we've got about 4.5 seconds to get back up to the limit. Who we didn't talk about it really at all after he led those laps. He stays out and does the ultra long run. He's going to get a top 8 out of this if he can keep it going. See.
Oh, is it? No, that's the lead.
Yeah.
The leader. Wow. Oh,
Twice.
Again. Man, this might not be over yet. If they keep having problems here, I think you just got to nurse it home here, honestly. 1 lap to go. You know, don't overdo it here. You've had such a good night. But yeah, just tensions are high.
Yeah, well, I think, she's got a 2.5 second gap now, but I thought maybe she was potentially out of fuel, how slow she was going. It's not going to matter. Qualified P3 took the race lead back early. she's going to get it here from Rockingham. Her third win of the season. Give it to Kalanick.
Great race, man. Go ahead and give it to him. Or go ahead and give it to her, rather. Man, that was a great race out of that 22 car. I must say, that was a really good battle earlier on in the race. And you just got to hand it to them for being in a league of their own in that long run. So, very, very cool to see. You know, that paint scheme is really cool, too. So, I mean, you got to hand it to them for having that swag factor for sure. The Uma Musume 22 car parks it on the front straightaway for celebrations.
Oh, back to back here. One at Chicagoland. Gets it done here from the Rock as well. Back to back. This is exactly when you want to get hot here if you're going to try to race for a championship here. And Ashley Kalanick goes back to back here from the Rock.
Yeah, and I mean, this was just, I mean, perfectly played, right? You know, didn't rely on any cautions, didn't rely on a crazy strategy, just, you know, did what they know how to do, which is go out there and race and win, right? And so for them to be able to come out here and just do, you know, a spectacular job, not only just, you know, being fast, but really commanding the field here, right? And not letting anything get by him. You know, this is just a really good effort here at Rockingham.
I definitely agree. A great win for Ashley. You see Josh Chen coming home P2. Braden Movitt comes home P3 here. At number 42 machine, you see him parked in pit road. But we're going to go ahead and take one quick commercial break as we wait on our drivers to jump into the waiting room. We'll be right back on the other side of this ad break to talk to your top three and start your post-race show here from The Rock.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
As I welcome you back here for the post-race show. Season 11 for the OSRL Premier Series here from The Rock. Ashley Kalanick gets it done here from The Rock here in a dominating fashion. Let's go ahead and talk up and ring up the 22 here up in Victory Lane. Hey, Ashley, it's Christian and Matthew up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Hello.
Well, back-to-back for you in this 22 team. One from Chicagoland and a really good battle with William Schmidt, but tonight, not really a contest. Got the race lead away from Josh Chen early in the race. Never really looked back. Obviously, a little bit of, you know, kind of Bit strategy there when it came to, who came down win, but despite that, you come home, your third win of the season here, leading 119 laps here from the Rock. Congratulations, first of all, Ashley, and then just walk us through your race. Walk us through what got you up here and getting your third win this season.
Well, I honestly, I feel like I'm on a streak lately. I don't know, something has just clicked. I feel like I'm driving good. I got the right headspace. I got positive momentum going for the championship here. Unfortunately, Mavik ahead of me had a good night tonight, so didn't really gain too much of a gap. I think it's 7 points from first to second, and then I think it's a 2-point drop, so 9. So I would need him to finish third again and me win bare minimum next week to have a chance at it, if I'm not mistaken. But then I don't know tiebreaker wise where I fall. But yeah, no, I just had a feel for it. I feel like I'm driving good. I feel like I'm not pushing the tires, and I recognize whenever I do step over that line very easily, and I'm able to back off just a little bit. And that has made me really, really good in the long run. Uh, Pit strategy was a bit interesting because we were pitting right at that spot to make it to the end, and I simply just didn't want Chin to jump me on the pit stop. But I hadn't practiced it, and talking to them, neither of them did too, so we were kind of on even footing there as well.
Obviously, you talk about looking at the points there, needing the. I mean, I feel like a goal for you right now with this hot streak, winning is kind of the statement you need anyways. But you talk about going to Auto Club, you need to win. Braden at least sees to finish, third or back to give it a championship. Do you think you have the car to go out and win three in a row here at the end of the season?
Honestly, probably. Last season when I joined about halfway through, I won the opening race here, and then I won at Phoenix against Chin. Uh, so I had an almost 50% win rate. I actually threw a race away last season. Uh, but unlike last year, I'm driving not in over my head. I'm driving to whatever my pace is and then just sticking to it. And I feel like I just have a full understanding of the car and the aerodynamics and everything like that to just really push it beyond a lot of my competitors right now. And that's the advantage I got. So yeah, I think I could win Auto Club.
Oh, we definitely wish you good luck in next week. Going into Auto Club, obviously a tight battle, really between you, Josh, and Braden for that championship. But obviously, my race, I learned my lesson last week. You were my race pick this week, so we congratulate you. Your second win in a row here, going back to back from Chicagoland. Before we let you go, Ashley, though, anybody you want to thank, appreciate, shout out for tonight's win here from the Rock?
Hey, once again, thank you to all my friends. Specifically, thank you to Mo, because I literally would not have been able to run tonight if I'm not able to stay at his house. So I am currently, well, it's a bit dark out, but I was staring at corn earlier, and there were bugs smacking into my monitor because I'm on his front porch. So
An awesome. I didn't expect to hear that, but an awesome storyline coming into that. But yeah, despite the bugs from the corn, you get it done here from um um the Rock. Anybody else you want to shout out before we let you go though?
yeah, just generally thank you to all my friends. Just in total. I'm not even going to try and attempt that word. Forget it. I'm tired. Uh, just thank you to all the people who are just there out there to support me and everything like that. Been a lot of stuff going on in my life, so I feel it's nice to still have a steady head.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Ashley, and we congratulate you and we appreciate your time up here in HV2 booth. We look forward to see what you could do from Auto Club to potentially steal that championship away from the 42. But we wish you good luck next week in the championship, and hope to see the best from you.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it. And one more week left. Let's see.
We'll see. Have a good rest of the night. Ashley Kalonix takes the win here from the Rock, and Matthew, I think you have your pick for the win tonight here up in HV2 booth. Let's go ahead and talk to Josh Chin here in that number 93. Hey Josh, think we might have lost Discord again. We apologize, everybody. I don't know what's going on with Discord tonight, at least on the broadcasting side.
Gonna build a lot looser than it did, and I drove it off the right front the first run and didn't do a good job managing it. So that was a lot of difference, and then I lost like 3 seconds before the pit stop, and that ended up being the difference. So can't complain too much about it. My my stomach's killing me coming into tonight, so I'm happy with second. I needed more for the points. I needed Braden to not finish third, but it's the best I can ask for with the circumstances.
Yeah, definitely maximizing given those circumstances laid in front of you. Did you feel like you had anything for Ashley when you were going back and forth trading position earlier on before the green flag pit stops, or did you feel like, maybe they were just the class of the field today and you had to settle for second?
I think if I had brought the tires in a little different and not killed the right front, I probably would have, because I was able to stay with her for a little bit longer. And then once we got to like 20 laps in, that's really where the right front difference started making a big impact, and I couldn't get in the corner at all and really had to check up, and it was just a huge time loss after that.
Yeah, definitely. A very abrasive racetrack here at Rockingham. Our only caution today was a single car spin from the 10 at the very beginning of the race, and we didn't have any other cautions the rest of the day. Did you anticipate that we would have a race like we did here today without any yellows?
No, I definitely thought we were gonna have like 7 or 8 yellows. I'm going into work after this, and I thought for sure I wasn't gonna be able to get in until like midnight. So I'm happy that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that insight. One thing I always like to ask people I'm interviewing is the motivation behind the paint scheme. I love the paint scheme you brought here today, Rockingham. Just tell us and the viewers a little bit about what went into this.
Yeah, I've been a Kyle fan pretty much the whole time I've watched NASCAR. I started watching really back in '04 and uh, saw him running bush races and liked him, and I was a Kyle fan ever since. And I just love the paint scheme. It's the one that kind of always sticks out in my mind, that '07 season, and just running it as a tribute to him. And uh, I love the way it looks. It's probably my favorite paint scheme he's ever run. I know the M&M's cars are kind of iconic for his titles, but this is the one that always sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Those Kellogg's colors definitely flew high today. Before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out or thank for this second place finish here at Rockingham?
Just shout out to everyone that puts on the league. You guys for putting on the broadcast. Everyone for having a good, clean race, and hopefully we go in and make it an exciting finale at Auto Club for the title here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we appreciate your time and we hope you have a good rest of your night, man.
But thank you guys.
And Josh Chen comes home P2, a good run for him. Obviously, like you said, needed to have a little bit of a Braden, who we're going to talk to in a second here, to have a little bit of a worse finish, but still a good finish nonetheless for Josh. Matthews picked the win, one spot short. But let's go ahead and talk to Braden up here in the booth and see what his opinion on tonight's race was. Braden Movick, it's Christian Matthew up here in the HVTV booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, a P3 finish for you and this whole 42 team. Obviously, not the best qualifying effort. Obviously, came in, in the last minutes of practice. Probably didn't get as many laps as you'd probably like here, but we're able to drive your way up through the field here and had to settle for P3. It just looked like, from my opinion, it just looked like after you driving up through the field, it just looked like the two kind of race leaders were just too far out for you to go and try to run them down. But walk us through your race tonight. Walk us through what got you up here into a podium position.
Oh, it was a struggle today. Absolutely garbage qualifying by me today. So that was not fun having to put myself through the pack in a really a one lane racetrack. But got all the way up to third, I think, within the first 60 laps or 50 laps about. And I just wanted to, I was pushing the end of the run. I was the fastest car on the track before the pit stops. Gained about 2 or 3 seconds on Josh. And then I gave it all up entering the pits because I would rather lose three. I didn't practice pit entries the whole day or during the practice sessions, so I wanted to. I said it to myself before I pitted, I'd rather lose 3 seconds than speed and lose 10 spots. So yeah, gave that up. That kind of hurt me because I kind of lost sight of both Josh and Ashley after that, and I was kind of following like whatever lines they were doing. in the last 35, 40 laps of the run, I would do them as well because I didn't practice enough to know what the fast lines were throughout the race. And yeah, once I lost sight of them, I lost sight of what the fast lines were. And yeah, I just for about 20 laps in the middle of the run there, I just said I was just gonna chill, settle down, settle for third. And then I saw behind me I was being caught by 3/10 a second by Oates. So I was like, I gotta go again. And yeah, almost died entering turn 3, coming to the light. But after that, yeah, happy to get third. I think I'm leading the championship by 8 points now. I think I just need a second place finish, second or third with 2 bonus points to. I think if I lead the most laps and finish third, I can win the championship no matter what else, as long as Ashley doesn't win because I think she beats me on tiebreakers. So as I just need to finish 1 point ahead of Ashley next week, and hopefully that is my third championship.
That's gonna be it.
Yeah, looking forward to that. California, love that racetrack. Finally, we can go to a racetrack that is, I mean, not including Chicagoland, of course, but like finally we get to go to a racetrack where it's not just one line. It doesn't take 5 laps to set up and pass somebody. It's the widest track of this in the world. So thank God for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what Auto Club looks like. Obviously, whether we're in the booth or not. But yeah, we saw Oates closing you down there on that last lap. You barely got him there. But talking to Ashley earlier, as we talked to her, she won tonight's race. She said, she's with the hot streak she's on. She thinks she can win tonight's race. Are you going into Auto Club thinking it's a must win for you in this 42 team?
Uh, that's my goal. I think every finale I've done in this situation, I've gone out and won it. So, I mean, I just gotta think no differently this time around. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's one of my best racetracks, thankfully. And as I said earlier, it's one that if you're in 5th place, you can still pass people and not have to run, instead of running a half of a lane below them, you can run 5 lanes below the person in front of you. So that's really all I can ask for. I mean, if it's either here or Old Atlanta, really, those are my 2 finale tracks that I do the best at. So yeah, I'm super excited for the next week, trying to get, I think, my 2nd win or 3rd win at California. But actually, I don't think I've run that racetrack with these cars before, so that'll be a bit of a learning experience. Uh, yeah, I've never run this car at this track, so whatever. That's another learning experience for me, I guess. But most of these races, I mean, Nashville, Rockingham, and Bristol were all learning experiences. So, and none of them went well. So, I don't know. I'm gonna try to fall back on the fact that it's California, and I love that track that I can just clutch up. I'm not even gonna be racing for the win, really. I'll just be racing for just. I'm gonna do whatever Ashley does. I'm gonna pit the same lap as her. I'm gonna just run whatever line she's running. As long as I can keep her within 1 spot of me, I think I can win this championship. So, yeah, that's really the plan. Just do whatever she does. Hope it works out in my favor.
Sounds like a plan for you in this 42 team. We are excited to see, how this last race goes and gets crowned, this season 11 champion here. It looks like it's going to be between you and Ashley. It looks like Josh is a little bit too far out. Obviously, you could still steal it if something tragic happens to you two, but it looks like it's going to be
Of
between.
course.
It seems like it's going to be between you and Ashley, but it's going to be interesting to see who can get it done there from Fontana. But Braden, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, shout out, appreciate for tonight's run here in third?
Of course, I thank the field for giving me a clean and green race, the kind of races I love the most. Gotta thank you guys for putting on the broadcast tonight. Gotta thank old Tyler Tinsley for he didn't paint this car, I painted this one, but still in spirit, he makes my cars that make me fast. So gotta thank him for that. He's the reason I'm in this position to go race for a championship next week. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I gotta thank for.
Well, we definitely appreciate your time up here in the booth, and we wish you good luck next week going to Auto Club. Gonna race for your 3rd championship here, and yeah, we'll see what you can do next week from Fontana.
Hell yeah. See you then.
Braden takes it home, P3 here from Rockingham, and obviously Matthew, he kind of talked about it right there. gonna be a tight race for the championship between, it looks like, between the 22 and 42 here of Mavic going into Fontana. It's gonna be interesting to see, who can get it done. And it sounds like, Brain just needs to kind of be within striking distance. It sounds like Ashley thinks that she's kind of in a must win.
Yeah, and I mean, Auto Club is, such a fun track, period. But on top of that, with the championship implications, it's just going to give an added bonus for everyone watching and obviously those in the booth. So, very a very fitting track to, conclude a season. But especially, with the point standings, there's going to be a lot to look forward to. The championship is not clinched yet, and everyone is going to be coming out, guns blazing. So it's going to be a very, very good way to cap off the season, I believe, with a lot of really good drivers going, all out for the final race. And obviously, with Auto Club not being a track that we can visit anymore in real life for any of the NASCAR series, to be able to see it in the sim, just adds to the charm that it brings. And so, very different style racetrack, right? We went Chicagoland, we went Rockingham, and then we're gonna finish off at Auto Club, the 2 mile D-shaped oval. A lot of large, long corners, right? There's a lot of off throttle time. Gotta punch that gas at the right point. A lot of bumps too, so a very fun track in the sim as well. But I think a lot of these guys are just gonna, prep and hopefully prep accordingly so that they can have the best weekend they can for the championship next week.
I definitely agree. We'll go ahead and take a look at your unofficial race results tonight from Rockingham. We'll obviously talk through top 3 finishes tonight in Kalanick, Chen, and Mavic. They're kind of the top 3 battling it out for the points championship. You look at Jonathan O, it's a really good rebound. Get up to P4. Almost stole P3 away from the 42. Only 11 hundredths behind, the Braden. They were side by side going to the line. Braden holds on to P3, though. Look at Diego Roland. He had a good finish tonight. They're back there in P5, P6. Goes to Cole Freilich, Justin Hudson back there in P7. Nicholas Budlimick back there in 8th. Kendall Carpenter, Aiden Walker round out your top 10.
Yeah, we take a look at our 11th through 20th finishing positions. Jack Painter, the 97 car, followed by Chris Lilly in the 12th finishing position. Will Schmidt in that ReZero anime car finishing 13th. Cole Forland actually able to rally back to a top 15 after problems after running in the top 5. Levi Wolf in the 7 car finishing 15th. Morpheus Perry in the 31 car 16th. Dominic Barbagallo in the 17 car. Then Henry Calhoff in the 18. Corey Rexford in the 83, or is that the 03 rather. And then we have Trey Patton rounding out our top 20, 4 laps down.
Taking a look at the rest of the people further out early here. We look at Isaac Johnson, 4 laps down here. The last driver to finish tonight's race. Frank DeAngelis, Luke Breitenscoff, Harry Grindel, Ruby Estes, Griffin Jones out early here. From Rockingham, obviously we saw Ruby with that huge wreck early in the race. Saw him type in the live chat that they wanted to continue to run, but they didn't want to be the reason why a caution would come out when they're 16 laps down. So very selfless of Ruby to just call the night here and just let these guys race it out for themselves. But we once again congratulate Ashley Kalanick. So 2 in a row here, back to back here from Chicagoland, and now here the Rock here. We congratulate her on another win, her 3rd of the season, as she goes and tries to keep the pressure on the 42er Brand Mavic as we go into Auto Club next week. Unsure if we'll be broadcasting that or if someone else will step up and call the race through for the championship. But regardless, we appreciate everybody over here with OSRL for allowing us to step up into the broadcast booth and allow us to, have a good time up here calling the race and everything else. And we appreciate everybody for coming out watching tonight's broadcast. If we wouldn't mind dropping a like on the broadcast, sharing the broadcast with friends and family. It was definitely an interesting race to see Ashley come out here and dominate. But at the very least, if you guys had any fun or enjoyed anything we did tonight, if you would consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, we'd really appreciate it. If not, we appreciate you guys coming out and watching tonight's race here from Rockingham. But from myself and Matthew Fachatsky up here in the HVTV booth, We appreciate everyone for coming out, and we hope everybody has a great rest of their Thursday night as we look forward into the season 11 season finale here for the OSRL Premier Series. But once again, for myself and Matthew Prochaski up here in the HV3 booth, we hope everybody has a great rest of your night. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Atlanta here as we approach that there during the weekend, and we look forward to seeing you guys back on track here sooner rather than later. But once again, hope everybody has a great rest of the night, and we'll see you guys soon.